When we look back at this decade of cinema, the 2020s, what will we remember it most for? The back end of the 2010s introduced a trend of nostalgia, and like all cinematic trends, if it makes money, Hollywood will run it into the ground. This has been happening for decades. At the moment, Hollywood is resurrecting every successful franchise that you can remember or not remember. Sometimes it is warranted, with opportunities for deeper explorations of a beloved story and its characters. Sometimes it's just not needed. If it isn't through a sequel, remake, or prequel, it is through a multiverse, or just blowing up continuities and canons altogether. Which is fine by me. Headcanon is the way to go these days. I'm sure many of you would agree. One series that has never had a straight continuity is the 007 series. Now that Daniel Craig has hung up the tux, many fans have been wondering, who is the next James Bond going to be? Some fans want it to be Pierce Brosnan, who already played the role prior to Daniel Craig. Brosnan portrayed Bond in 1995's GoldenEye, 1997's Tomorrow Never Dies, 1999's The World Is Not Enough, and 2002's Die Another Day. Now, of course, the thought process here is not so crazy considering what's been happening with every big franchise of late, but it actually isn't that crazy within the context of the Bond franchise. We have already seen this happen for Bond in a few different ways. The original Bond, Sean Connery, played the role in 5 films: 1962's Dr. No, 1963's From Russia with Love, 1964's Goldfinger, 1965's Thunderball, and 1967's You Only Live Twice, soon after retiring from the role. George Lazenby took over as Bond in 1969's On Her Majesty's Secret Service. However, Connery returned to the role not once, not twice, but 3 times in 1971's Diamonds Are Forever, 1983's unofficial rival production Never Say Never Again, and the 2005 video game adaptation of From Russia with Love. George Lazenby and Roger Moore were also known to appear in skits as Bond following retirement from the role. Brosnan has been no stranger to taking on roles reminiscent of Bond since his departure from the role. Even though the Bond franchise has always reflected the wider cinematic trends of the times, I am almost completely certain that producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson have absolutely no interest in bringing back Brosnan. But do I think they should? My answer is actually yes, and I'm going to give a few reasons as to why. I think right now is the perfect time to do such a thing. Audiences would go crazy for this. The Nintendo 64 video game based on Brosnan's first Bond film, GoldenEye, is iconic and widely considered to be one of the best video games of all time. All the kids that grew up playing that game are now in their 20s and 30s, and all likely associate Brosnan's face with Bond, as he was probably their introduction to the character. I know he was mine. Brosnan was always a crowd pleaser, and while not all his films were beloved, Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough have been receiving much-deserved reappraisals among fans in recent years. It is no secret that most fans loved Daniel Craig as Bond. However, many fans don't like the direction his films went in, story-wise. A lot of fans could be reignited by Brosnan's return, as his interpretation of the character is more traditional. He is more of an all-rounder. He looks the part, maybe more than any other Bond actor. The one glaring issue is that we have seen the aged, seasoned Bond storyline before, and it is something you would have to address, so it could feel tired if not done right. You could make it a story about him coming to the end of his career as an older man. Maybe he takes on M's position at the end of the film. Another issue that may arise for the producers is that the whole venture would likely last for just one film, due to Brosnan's age. But I actually think that's what's cool about the idea. Die Another Day is widely considered to be the worst Bond film, and so it would be nice to give Brosnan a great film to end on, a standalone film that doesn't tie into Die Another Day, that is more grounded than that film. Get a great director, one of the great directors, like Christopher Nolan or Quentin Tarantino. As big Bond fans, I'm sure one of them would knock it out of the park. I also think that if the Bond producers want to expand their audience and want to bring in younger people to the cinema, then this could be a good choice because people love to jump on a hype train. This has been proven with Marvel, Star Wars, Top Gun, Barbenheimer, the list goes on. Pierce Brosnan is far from my favourite Bond, but I love all the Bonds, and I've got to admit, I would fanboy pretty hard if any of them returned. I low-key think that Timothy Dalton could still pull off a third film. I think Brosnan deserves a fifth film. Who wouldn't love it? Even if it turned out to be a good Bond film rather than a great one, it would be great to see him back. And what have the producers got to lose? They can only gain something from this. Many fans would love to see the franchise return to the fun tone of GoldenEye. It would be financially successful, it would rejuvenate fans who became jaded by the Craig era, it would bring in new fans who experience cultural FOMO, and it would give video game fans a nostalgia hit. It would be a very memorable moment in the history of cinema, a special, often unprecedented and unlikely moment. Just imagine, they could recreate this GoldenEye teaser trailer to announce it.
You were expecting someone else?
What do you think? Should Pierce Brosnan return for one last hurrah as James Bond? Or is this idea a boring waste of time? Should they go straight to a new actor? Let me know who you think the next James Bond should be in the comments down below.